everyone, it's Darby from rejoiceandcreate.com, and today's project is this little box, and I'm calling it a double flip and tuck gift box, because how you open it is actually has two flaps, one that you open this way that tuck in, and one that you open this way that tucks in. And of course this one has 4 Ferrero Rochers in it, but you can put any kind of candy in. It's 3 inches by 3 inches by 1.5 inches deep. And actually, after this one, I came up with this one. Now, of course, this one has the nativity on it, and when you open this one up, I did decorate a place to write something on with that one. And then open this, and you actually have a little advent calendar in a box. So let me go ahead and take the candles out, and of course these are the battery operated candles, and they're about 1.5 inches diameter, and I got them at the Dollar Tree. They came in a set of 2 for $1. But you also get in here, let me just put this little clip over there because I have a paper clip to hold it closed, but you also get in this one an Advent wreath, and I think this is very sweet. You can give someone the second type of Advent wreath in a box. And what I did is I actually used Velcro on the candles, but you don't have to, because if it's on somebody's desk or on a table, all they're going to do is stand it up anyway, so I don't think you need necessarily to do that. But I did it because I had them left over from my last Advent wreath project. So first I'm going to show you how to make the box, and then I'll step through just to let you know how I decorated this one and how I created the Advent wreath and decorated this one. Alright, so what we need for this is a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches by 12 inches long, and we're going to score this one at 3 inches, 4.5 inches, 7.5 inches, and 9 inches. Then turn it to the short side, the 6-inch side, and score it at 1.5 inches and 4.5 inches. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish all the score lines. Now, in order to make the box, the center square is the bottom of the box. So these 4 squares around it are going to be the tabs. So just go ahead and cut up that right on the side of the score line, the rectangle side of that score line, and notch into the square. Again, on this one, we want to go as close to the rectangle side as we can, straight up, and then just a very notch into the little square. And repeat that all the way around. Alright, so one other thing we're going to do, and you can do this when it's made into a box, but we're going to go ahead and do it while it's flat, is to round the corners. Because if you take a look at this box and open it up, you'll notice that these, both the front and the back, although you only need the front, because when you tuck it in, it's those front corners of those flaps that are going to need to be rounded to make it past that arc. And what I did to do that is actually you can't just round it with a regular corner rounder punch because they're really not big enough to give you enough of a circle. So what I did was I used my 2 1/4 inch punch, and I just tucked that corner in, and I made sure that both the sides on the piece of paper or cardstock around it were touching the punch. So it's all touching the punch as far as it can go in, and go ahead and punch it, and that gives a beautifully big rounded corner. Now let me go ahead and do that with this one. Now if you don't have a punch, you can use one of your nesting circles or any circle that's about 2 1/4, maybe a little bit bigger, as a template, and you can just set it there and draw it. Cut it with a pair of scissors. Alright, let's go ahead and do the other corners too. I'm not going to round the back corners this time, just for the speed of the video, but you can if you want to. There we go. Okay, so One other thing that you can do actually is to go ahead and put the side panels on, like this one. You could do that either when it's flat or when it's up like a box. Either way is fine. I'm just going to do this one now while it's flat. Now if you have a directional pattern, remember it goes up from all sides. So all 4 of these will have to face upward the other way. Mine's an overall pattern, so it's really not that big a deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our box together, and you'll put glue on these 4 tabs. And now, because the way the box closes, you will be actually tucking these tabs in past the glue tabs will be glued to the side of the box. You really want those to adhere well. So I'm using liquid glue, but if you want to use the double-sided strong adhesive tape, that's fine too. But just make sure you get it all over the tab, because you don't want the flap when you're closing it to pull that side tab open. All right, now in order to glue the last 2 in, I'm actually going to close this one right here. So when I glue this last part in, I make sure I leave enough room for it. Sometimes if I don't square up the box quite right, then I will not leave enough room for that. So let me go ahead and put that in. See, I'm tucking that right up to where that is and closing the side down on it. Same with this side. Go ahead and get that one glue tab in. And push this fold kind of up to there so I know I have enough room to close that. And there you go. All right. All right, now on this one what I did was I actually punched a hole. I have a little finger catch right there on the side. If you don't like the way that little finger catch looks, then you can go ahead and just put a little tab on there, glue a little tab on there. But what I did on this one was I actually created a hole inside the second flap. So not the flap that closes last, but the inside flap. And how I did that was I just punched, I used a scallop circle punch, but whatever you have that's between 1/4 of an inch and 2.5 inches, because that's how big my wreath is, go ahead and punch that one. So I'm actually going to use a 1 3/4 on this one. So if you want to do the wreath with a little peekaboo box in there, just go ahead and take this. And just to make sure I was right in the center, I took a pencil and my ruler, and I just went from corner to corner, and right in the middle I put a line. And if you're going to punch that out anyway, it doesn't matter. Same again here, corner to corner, and I make a little line so I know that cross is right in the center. And I have a place that I can, oops, that's another part of the project. And I have a place where I can go ahead and kind of eyeball it, but right over that cross, because that's right where the center is. Okay, so I've got my hole there, and all I have to do now to decorate with my wreath is to make my wreath. So I took a 1 1/4 inch and I kind of pushed it over into either the cardstock, that was garden green, or I'm going to use paper just to demonstrate. So I pushed the 1 1/4 inch up, I punched the circle, and then I took the 2 1/2 inch punch, because that's the outside diameter of the wreath, and I actually centered that smaller circle right inside the bigger circle. And I find that that's the easiest way I find to punch consistently a little wreath. And you can glue that over. You can put the, I put the acetate on the inside. If you want to, you can sandwich it between the wreath and the box. It might make a cleaner finish on the inside. And then just glue that on and decorate it. I have a couple of the sprig punches, a little banner with a greeting and a bow. But let me go ahead and tuck this back in and bring the front down. Alright, so how I decorated the front of them is this one, I used the Nordic Noel. It's a retired paper set from Stampin' Up! And they had these lovely Nordic looking Christmas houses. There were 4 strips of them on a 12 by 12 sheet, and one strip with a couple houses fit very nicely in there, because the mat size that we're going to use is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8, and that's what we use for this one as well. And if you want to use, if you're using a square image or a square stamped sentiment, then you use this would be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'm going to show you how to do the nativity front. So what we're going to do to decorate the nativity front, I used a circle, is to use one of the largest, or the largest stitch circle from Stampin' Up's Stitch Shapes set. And this one is 2 7/8 inch diameter. So we'll put that on there after the square. And then the circle that has the nativity in it was a punched 2.5-inch circle. You can use whatever you want to layer. That's just what I happen to use. And I prepared it by shading it a little bit. Now this one is the So Saffron Yellow because I had the yellow on this one. So before I glued this mat on the front for both of them, what I did was I actually gave myself a little pull tab to open that easier. And I used the Pretty Label Punch. And what I did is I just snugged it up till it was maybe halfway. It didn't have to be perfect, but maybe about halfway in there because I just wanted these 3 center scallops. And then what I did, let me go ahead and open this back up again, is I just glued it and I centered it and I stuck those 3 scallops out the edge because when I cover it with a mat, you're not going to see it pretty much. So go ahead and put some glue or some double-sided tape. And we're just going to center it in that center top section, in that front section. And I'm going to pull it out to where those last set of scallops come and kind of center it left to right. And push it down. So let me glue this one on. Go ahead and hold that down. All right, so let me go ahead and prepare the backdrop for the nativity. Let me show you how I did that. Put that up there for the moment. I'm going to bring in some scrap paper because I'm going to do some shading, and what I have is the 2.5-inch punch circle, and I have it lighter. This one, as I said, was the So Saffron. It was a bit lighter. And I have some Memento ink, and I'm using the black. You can use whatever dark you want. And just go ahead and work your way off and go around. I go around each the edges first because I like all the edges to be a uniform, so if I do it all at one time, I know that it is. All right, now once I've got that done, I'm going to look for one place that I want to be in the front. And I kind of like maybe right in there to be in the front. So what I'm going to do is actually start shading the back more because I'm trying to make a starry night, so I need to have it dark in the back. So just keep adding layer on layer. And just leave that one center section for the glow to be behind the nativity. All right, so let me go ahead and put that aside for a second. I'll get this black out of the way so my fingers don't get all inky. All right, so the nativity I'm using is actually a nativity by Tailored Expressions, and this is a die. And it has the nativity scene as well as the star. But you could use, any stamps or any dies you have, or even if you want to print one out from the computer and use that one instead, you can use that. Make a really pretty scene. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue this up. I'm going to glue it right over that very faint spot to give it a bit of a glow behind there. Oh, one thing I forgot to do was to make my stars, actually. So I had a Signo pen. This is the Signo Uniball white. And I like this one because it has one of the best whites over dark. So what I did was I just started making a few dots here and there. And you know that the stars aren't evenly spaced. They're all over the place. I just go ahead and make a bunch of stars over that in the night sky. All right, so now that I've got my night sky together, I'm just going to go ahead and glue my star on, and then we'll set this aside and let it dry. All right, so I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and then I'll show you how I made the wreath. Okay, so for the wreath, you start with a piece of paper that was 6 by 6, and I found a piece of paper that would make it look like a wreath without having to decorate it too much, and that was my goal with some of these as well. Score it in half both sides, or you can just fold it in half as well. I just thought it was easier for me when I had the scoreboard out just to score it both ways. So go ahead and fold it in half both ways. And on one fold line, take a 1 1/2 inch punch and line it up right at that center score line. So that center score line runs right down the center, and this fold line runs right down the other center, because we're trying to get a circle that's right in the middle of the wreath. It doesn't have to be exact actually, because wreaths aren't exact anyway. All right, see, we got one that was right in the center of the wreath. So let's go ahead and fold that back up again, and let's fold this way up again. And if you want to, you can go ahead and kind of flatten it out a bit. And now what we're going to do is just cut the outline of the wreath. And this is not rhyme or reason. I just kind of worked my way around in an arc and kind of made some ins and outs so it would look kind of wreath-like. And go ahead and open that up, and if you like it, great. If not, you can go ahead and close it back up and recut it. But I think that looks pretty darn good. All right, so what I did to make the rest of the wreath is I actually cut a banner, and this banner is from Tailored Expressions as well, but there are many out there. And if you don't have a banner die, just cut a straight banner and flag both ends. The only thing you don't want to do, however, is to go beyond your score lines, because this is going to fold up into a quarter to fit into the box. That you want to make sure you don't go over any of those fold lines so that it will interfere with the folding. So what you would do is just put your banner down, and I have a 1 3/4 inch scallop circle punch, because it was just bigger than this tea light. This tea light is one that I got at Dollar Tree. It comes 2 in a pack, and it is 1 1/2 inch in diameter. Now it is slightly wider on the bottom, so it is a snug fit if you're doing the calendars to snug them down that way, because it's not quite cylindrical on the sides. It actually flares out at the bottom just a wee bit. I took Sharpie markers and I colored 3 of them purple on the outside. You could use washi tape or ribbon or even a strip of paper, but because it does flare out a wee bit, you might have to adjust it, like make some cuts just to adjust it and smooth it out. Let that dry. Alcohol markers would work as well. And then I glued the banner down, and then I took a 1 3/4 inch scallop circle punch, and as I said, it was just bigger. You can use whatever, it was just bigger than the tea light, and I glued that in the center. I used a pair of hook and loop dots, a pair of Velcro dots, that were 5/8 of an inch diameter, and these work really well for it, so they don't slide around. Now this is going to be sitting on the desk, so you don't have to worry quite as much about one unless you're packing it to go. I put the hook part on the bottom of the candle over that little door, and then I stuck the loop part and then just stuck it down there so I could get it in the right place. And there it sits. So I would do that for all 4 of your weeks. And I said week 1 is hope, week 2 is peace, week 3 is joy, and week 4 is love. So you can label those if you want to, and I just hand label them and put some hand scripting on there. But once you have all of your banners and your scallop circles on, you can go ahead and fold that up. And I just used a little paper clip to hold things together, because once you put the Velcro on, sometimes it gets a little bit, it wants to open up a bit, and it's easier to stay flat in the box this way. So let's go ahead and finish up our box. All right, now on the inside of the one for the candy, I put the acetate window on it. Now for the inside of the one for the nativity, I just went ahead, you can put a window if you want to, but I just went ahead and stamped a sentiment, joy to the world. But then go ahead and take your wreath and put it in there. Okay, and you can kind of lean them towards each other. Will help you with the closing of the box. So go ahead and close that box, and then tuck these guys in and close those as well. Flip it and tuck it. All right, so I have my box closed, and let's go ahead and put this together. I'm going to glue this to my stitch circle. And then I'm going to put some foam on that. I'll take this off, but before I put it down, I'd like to have a little bit of a decorative corner. Let me show you what I mean. Let's tuck this one back in for now. Okay, for this little starburst looking thing, I actually just used a starburst flower type punch, and let me see if I can fit this on this scrap. And I punched it. And then I just cut it into quarters. And I glued each quarter on the corners. And then I just centered this one right in the middle. So whether you want to give an Advent wreath in a box or give a little bit of candy to your recipient, this double flip and tuck box is a really cute way to give it. Well, I hope you liked the project today, and if you liked the video, please subscribe. For more information on this project or any other projects I've done, please go to rejoiceandcreate.com. And as always, until we meet again, I hope your days are blessed. Bye!